Fact number 1. What if we threw the moon at the sun? Over and over again. Could we destroy it? Let's do the math. The sun is a massive nuclear furnace, about 330,000 times the mass of Earth. Our moon, only 1/80th of Earth's mass. That's like throwing pebbles at a volcano. One moon does nothing. 10 moons, still nothing. A billion moons, the sun barely notices. To even match the sun's mass, you'd need around 10 sextillion moons. That's a 1 followed by 22 zeros. But here's the twist. Throwing that much mass into the sun would actually make it burn hotter and faster, not destroy it. You'd just speed up its life cycle. So unless you're chucking black holes or other stars, the sun's safe from your moon attacks. Space is wild. Hit follow for more. Number 2. Fact: who would win in a prehistoric showdown? The mighty adult mammoth or the terrifying T-Rex? Let's break it down. Height? The T-Rex stood around 12 feet at the hips, like a 2-story building on legs. The mammoth, about 13 feet tall at the shoulder, basically a hairy truck with tusks. So, call it a tie, but one's fluffier. Strength? T-Rex had jaws that could crush a car, over 12,000 pounds of bite force. Meanwhile, the mammoth had massive tusks and could probably bench press a tree. One bites, one bashes. Pick your pain. So, who wins? Well, they lived millions of years apart, so this match never happened. But if they did meet, the T-Rex might chomp first. But a mammoth charge could send Rex flying like dino sushi. Science says, in the wild, mammoth might stand a chance. But Rex was built to kill. Let's just say, it'd be a mammoth mess. Who do you think would win? Comment below. Number 3. Fact: why do 0% of people think nukes could destroy the sun? Because they can't. The sun spits out 1 trillion 1 megaton bombs worth of energy every second. Even the biggest nuke ever, Tsar Bomba, is just 50 megatons. Detonating all 12,000 nukes on Earth wouldn't even scratch the sun. It'd be like tossing a matchstick into a volcano. Curious about what'd happen if those bombs went off on Earth instead. Fact number 4. Stop memorizing dates, let's dive into India's epic past instead. Let's zoom back to prehistoric India. Early humans lived in caves and used stone tools. Farming began in places like Meghar around 7000 BCE. Fast forward to the Indus Valley Civilization, 2500 to 1700 BCE, known for cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. Next, the Vedic period, 1500, 600 BCE, shaped early Hinduism and introduced the Vedas. The Mahajanapadas, 600, 321 BCE, saw the rise of kingdoms and new religions like Buddhism and Jainism. The Maurya Empire, 321, 185 BCE, was founded by Chandragupta, with Ashoka spreading Buddhism. Then came the Gupta Empire, 320, 550 CE, a golden age for science and culture. From 1206 to 1526 CE, the Delhi Sultanate mixed Indo-Islamic culture, followed by the Mughal Empire, 1526 to 1857, with rulers like Akbar and Shah Jahan. The Marathas rose in the 17th century, challenging Mughal rule. British colonial rule began in 1757, leading to India's fight for independence, achieved in 1947. And there you have it, India's epic journey through time in just 90 seconds. Fact number 5. What do bodybuilders, sprinters, and even chess players have in common? Yep, creatine. But what actually happens when you take it? Creatine. You've probably seen it in tubs at the gym or mentioned in fitness videos. People say it boosts strength, improves performance, and gives you those extra reps. Sounds like magic, right? Well, let's unpack it scientifically. Creatine is a substance your body already makes, mainly in the liver, kidneys, and pancreas, and it stores most of it in your muscles. Think of it like the backup battery pack for energy production, especially during short bursts of intense activity. When you take creatine supplements, you're topping off your muscles' energy reserves. This means you get more fuel for quick, explosive movements, like sprinting, jumping, or lifting heavy. Technically, it helps regenerate something called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the energy currency of your cells. More ATP equals more power, faster recovery, and possibly better brain performance too. Here's the twist. Creatine might not just be for muscles. Some studies suggest it can boost brain function, improve memory, and even help with depression. Wait, a gym supplement that helps your brain? Wild, right? But before you go chugging it by the scoop, remember, hydration is key, dosing matters, and not everyone responds the same way. It's one of the most researched supplements out there, but it's not a miracle powder. So, next time you see someone reaching for creatine, remember, they're not just chasing gains. They might be unlocking hidden power their body already had. Fact number 6. What happens when we mix mercury with liquid nitrogen? Sounds like mad science, right? Let's break it down. Mercury, also known as quicksilver, is a metal, but unlike most metals, it's liquid at room temperature. It's heavy, dense, and conducts electricity. Cool, right? But it gets even weirder when we cool it down. Liquid nitrogen is nitrogen that's been supercooled to minus 196 degrees Celsius or minus 321 degrees Fahrenheit. It boils at that temperature, which means it's always trying to vaporize and escape into gas form. It's used to freeze things instantly. So what happens when we pour liquid nitrogen into mercury? Here's the cool part, literally. As the mercury cools, it starts to freeze. Mercury's freezing point is about minus 38.8 degrees Celsius or minus 37.8 degrees Fahrenheit. That's much higher than liquid nitrogen's temperature, so it doesn't just get cold, it solidifies. When mercury freezes, it turns into a silvery metallic solid, no longer sloshing around like a liquid. It even contracts a bit and becomes more brittle. Yep, you could shatter it if you drop it, just like glass. Now here's what doesn't happen. A chemical reaction. Mercury and nitrogen don't react chemically under these conditions. There's no explosion, no weird compound. It's all physical change, just freezing and condensing. The nitrogen, meanwhile, boils and turns to gas immediately, creating that cool, foggy look. That's just nitrogen gas and water vapor condensing from the air. No toxic fumes, but always do this in a ventilated lab. So in the end, mercury gets frozen solid like a metallic ice cube, and the nitrogen puts on a smoky show. No explosions, just beautiful physics and one frozen metal. Science wins again. Fact number 7. What if we told you the United States, the world's biggest superpower, didn't even exist 300 years ago? Let's race through the entire history of the USA, from ancient tribes to global domination, in just a few minutes. Before 1492, the land was home to millions of Native Americans, hundreds of tribes like the Navajo, Iroquois, and Sioux, with complex societies, trade routes, and deep traditions. No USA, no colonies, just a continent alive with indigenous culture. Then in 1492, Columbus lands in the Americas. By 1607, the British plant their first permanent colony in Jamestown, Virginia. Over time, British, French, and Spanish colonies line the coast, but tensions with British rule start to boil. 1775, boom, the American Revolution kicks off. And on July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence is signed, the birth of the USA. By 1783, after a long war, Britain finally lets go. 1787, the US writes its constitution. George Washington becomes the first president. The young country starts pushing west, clashing with native tribes as it grows. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubles US territory. The idea of manifest destiny drives settlers westward. But big issues like slavery and states' rights stir up conflict. And in 1861, the nation splits. The Civil War pits North versus South over slavery and secession. Lincoln frees the slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. By 1865, the Union wins and slavery is abolished. The 1870s to 1910s bring rapid industrial growth. Factories, railroads, and cities explode. Millions arrive from Europe. But inequality, child labor, and fierce labor movements rise too. In 1917, the US joins World War I. Then the Roaring Twenties bring prosperity, until the Great Depression hits in 1929. By 1941, after Pearl Harbor, the US enters World War II, and emerges in 1945 as a global superpower. From 1945 to 1991, it's the Cold War US versus Soviet Union, nukes, spies, and the space race. At home, the civil rights movement challenges racism, led by heroes like Martin Luther King Jr. The US lands on the moon in 1969, and by 1991, the USSR collapses. The 21st century brings 9/11, wars in the Middle East, the first black president in 2008, and a global pandemic in 2020. Today, the US faces challenges like climate change, AI, and political division, but still stands as one of the most powerful nations in history. Fact number 8. What if the sun started drifting closer to Earth? At first you wouldn't notice much. Temperatures would rise just a few degrees, nice for beach days, right? But soon, heat waves would become deadly, crops would fail, ice caps would melt faster than ever, and sea levels would flood cities. Animals would migrate or die out. Power grids would fail as demand for cooling surges. Chaos would spread. If the sun kept coming closer, Earth would eventually become a scorched wasteland. Oceans would boil, the atmosphere would burn off, and life as we know it, gone. Good news, this won't happen. The sun is changing. but slowly, over billions of years, so no need for sunscreen, yet. Fact number 9. Can a fire extinguisher the size of the sun stop any fire? Let's find out, and probably break physics while we're at it. First off, the sun is 1.3 million times the size of Earth. Now imagine a fire extinguisher that big. You could put out a forest fire, a volcano, heck, even your ex's burning texts. But here's the problem. The sun itself is a 15 million degree nuclear inferno. So, if your extinguisher is made of normal stuff, it would vaporize instantly. Unless it's made of, I don't know, unobtainium and dreams. Also, spraying that much CO2 would probably freeze the Earth. Or accidentally terraform Mars. Oops, wrong planet. So no, a sun-sized extinguisher won't stop fires. It might just become the next one. Fact number 10. This is why you need to know what really happened to the dinosaurs. 66 million years ago, Earth was a dinosaur's playground. Giant creatures roamed land, sea, and sky. But then, a fiery object the size of a mountain crashed into our planet. Did they all die instantly? Not quite. That asteroid, called Chicxulub, hit with a force a billion times more powerful than an atomic bomb. Fires, tsunamis, and a black curtain of dust followed, blocking out the sunlight. The planet went dark. For years, temperatures dropped, plants stopped growing, and food chains collapsed. Some dinosaurs starved, others froze. It was a slow, painful extinction, not a big boom. But guess what? Tiny mammals, birds, and tough reptiles survived. Without the asteroid, mammals might never have taken over. No dino's demise, no humans today. So the asteroid was the beginning of the end, but also the start of something new. The age of dinosaurs ended, and the age of us began.